I think we should be ready. Do you see the slides?
Yep.
Cool. All right, Henry, off you go.
All right. So good afternoon, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 54th Town Hall, April 13, 2020. So it's Henry. I'm Henry. I'm the one who's going to be hosting the town hall this time around. So we're going to be starting with Jared.
Cool. Thanks, Henry.
Yeah.
So basically I want to change the town hall slide format a little bit. I'd like to kind of preload every town hall with basically 4 new slides. One, just a vision piece trying to highlight illustration of the broader vision, then go over to like a sort of a bird's eye view of the organization, as well as outline any changes, and followed by Kudos, and just highlighting different people within the organization and showing our appreciation for going above and beyond. And then just a feedback and further reading slide. Next slide, please. Cool. So basically, you probably all know that I'm quite sympathetic towards the Kachins. This is an autonomous region north of Myanmar in Southeast Asia. Predominantly mountainous living people. And this photo here is actually the coronavirus quarantine efforts. They actually were in desperate need of aid. So I was working to solve logistics and basically donate a bunch of masks and get some tests over to them. And that was kind of going really well, like even though the medical market is absolutely insane right now and like it's very hard to find trustworthy people, we found a pretty good supplier, and then we found out logistics wouldn't be too much of an issue because we could get stuff to them directly from China, close to the border. The issue was that this didn't end up going through because China ended up clamping down on any kind of exports on medical equipment, except for very specific licensed manufacturers of medical equipment. So this is in response to the defective equipment that Europeans had received from China previously. So unfortunately, we were unable to kind of fulfill that. But thankfully, they do have masks now, and they do have testing kits and these sort of things. So they're not as worse off as I was not hoping, but as I was fearing, I guess. I just want to also give a little bit more background. Basically, there's this idea of the Panglong Agreement. And this was signed many decades ago now, I think around the 50s, or maybe even, around there. And essentially, this was to create a union of the different states in around Myanmar and Kachin and this sort of area. And unfortunately, this, because all of these different states were essentially British colonies prior. And so that's how they got this agreement on paper and signed by a unfortunately, the reality is that this never really came into fruition. But this federation or union of these different states has never really materialized. And really, really suffers from this resource curve. They're actually the largest natural resource reserve in the so they have the largest jade, gold, amber, timber, iron, and hydroelectric energy. So they built dams back in the 60s, and what's actually caused the recent conflict is that China has built a dam in Kachin territory, and with the permission of the Burmese government. So that's kind of how the new conflict has kind of come out. Now, in terms of BD from status, like we were supposed to do a face-to-face with one of the generals there. because what they're trying to do is they're trying to bolster their nation building efforts. And one of the pieces there is that they require their own currency. They're currently classified as autonomous region and they have no currency. They use all the currencies of that are around them. So, India, China, and Myanmar. So this is something that they're really interested in. And it's actually kind of a prime opportunity for us because their population size isn't too large and they have a high degree of smartphone penetration. So unfortunately, yeah, the face-to-face was cancelled, but I will be working on and submitting a proposal for a national digital currency for them. And they have some plans in terms of getting adoption on this. They want to build these hospitals that will accept this currency. So it is very slow moving. It may never come into fruition, but what this technology is really good for is supporting sovereign communities. And this is just one piece of many that could fulfill a very similar narrative. Next slide, please. Okay, so the other thing that I would like to start doing is giving everyone a high-level overview of pretty much what's happening in the organization in different areas. So on the right here, I just started outlining how things currently look. I may have missed a thing or two, but the idea is to kind of identify these high-level goals that we're trying to achieve and attach some timelines and do comparative baselines against those timelines. This isn't about time-driven development. This is more about just kind of understanding where we're going, and yeah, that's essentially it. But this doesn't change the strategy. The strategy this year is still currently the focus on user growth and fundraising to fuel growth and support the peer-to-peer infrastructure requirements. Now, we've had a lot of turbulence this year with the coronavirus and the economy. So we have been planning this year to not expect fundraising, and how go about that is still not fully settled. But we're still going to try anyway because it's worth trying. But we're certainly not planning for that this year. There has been some rather large changes in the organization. Rachel is going to be leaving us. She's going to head out on her own and try out some new things, and we support that. I think that's a fantastic move for her. But yes, she will be sorely missed. Rachel's been the head of product and has really kept everybody together and fulfilling a lot of strategic needs in the organization. And so we have some big shoes to fill. It looks like this is unofficial. It looks like Yuri is interested in helping out Andre on this front. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in the moment. But we're essentially in this process of understanding her roles and where we're going to transfer them. This is an opportunity actually to get more community involvement. And it's kind of good timing from a certain respect because we are moving the application into the public and we've got the state platform. So what better moment to actually get which might potentially lead to a better product. Basically because of the coronavirus and the uncertainty in the future, and it's a little uncertain how Embark was going to make a return, at least in the short term. We've asked the Embark team to kind of pause the efforts on that and help out with the core application. So currently Embark is now being asked to basically work on the desktop version of Status, as well as working on some of the community participation and governance around Status. So this doesn't mean this is the end of Embark or anything like this. It's basically been put on pause. And what's actually kind of good about doing desktop is that then it gives us a platform to kind of integrate Embark into it and allows us to pave the way for reintroducing extensions with the Embark team, understanding the application on a much more intimate level, I think that's going to prove Embark to be a very powerful developer tool set for the status ecosystem in the future. Yeah, as I mentioned, we'll be offloading some of Rachel's tasks for community participation. We're currently in the process of gathering requirements for that, but it's likely we'll merge the various governance projects that we've had in the past, such as Assemble, voting, staking DAO, etc. And we may turn them into plugins for Discourse, so we can focus all of the community into one sort of focal point, which would be the forum. I also want to say that the Embark team are absolute rock stars. I am a little sorry that I have to ask this of you, but it seems like it's the best play forward to keep everyone on board. And definitely don't worry about productivity. Of course, there's going to be a hit while everyone trains and understands, and settles down into the new roles. So yeah, I mean, and you'll probably be taking a glance on the right. I think I covered most of the things there. Next slide, please. So Kudos is a DApp that we made a while back, and quite frankly, I've had a terrible participation record in it, but I will be making a concerted effort to participate in Kudos and encourage everyone else to do the same. I'll be giving kudos based on feedback from anyone, of course, but especially team leads. So if you can let me know, team leads, that would be, if anyone's been doing above and beyond, please let me know. There's a couple of here that are long overdue. Gravity Blast identified a security issue many months ago that I think was missed by one of the audits, and absolute lifesaver. Really appreciate the efforts there. Yenda has just done a mega education session with Embark, helping them get up to speed with the application architecture. Took him a few hours, I think, and I really appreciate everyone being involved in that, and Yenda for putting that together. And of course, Hester, she's bringing a lot of structure and communication and relevance to what we do. She seems to be everywhere, and really appreciate that. Then all the people involved in the Waku design, implementation, and rollout, I think that couldn't have gone more smoothly. I think that was a really impressive effort. Yeah, that's great. And of course, Rachel for being the ultimate cat herder and keeping everyone together. And I said product on chat, but I meant product on track. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah, and I also wanted to create an anonymous form here. So if you have any feedback at all on these slides or anything that's on your mind, definitely hit me up. You don't need to sign in with Google or anything like that. It's just a completely blank slate. And of course, you can hit me up on status, and yeah, let's have a chat. And there's some further reading here if you want to understand a bit more about uncertainty or nation building, natural resources, and again, the Panglong Agreement. That's all from me. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Jared. So we'll be getting updates from People Ops, and Kerry will be giving us updates next. So,
yeah, that's me. Cool. I'm really excited to see Kudos on this, by the way. Yeah, I'll be giving out some more SNT later this week, so you can give out your kudos to your favorite peoples. So okay, Peter Blob's update. We've got one new core contributor. I'm very excited about this one. This is Terry, who's joining our team as an HR and operations coordinator. She'll be on board from tomorrow. So warm welcome to Terry. It's nice to have you here. Next up, just a quick hiring update. Not much has changed since last week, but I have highlighted in green the 2 new roles that we're kind of putting onto the market. So the technical copywriter for marketing is something that we started recruiting for a while back, but was deprioritized. Now we would like to reactivate that search. So we'll be getting back to, I think we still have some candidates in the pipeline for that one, so expect to hear from us pretty soon. And then on the research side, working with Oscar and Dean, we're looking for a protocol engineer to help us solve the problem of decentralized communication. And that's it. You can also see as well that we had another protocol engineer role, which is working with Dimitri on cache. That will now be kind of renamed to distributed systems engineer. So that should differentiate those 2 roles a little bit. That's it from People Ops. I think, Tina, you mentioned you were muted. Hang on, let me just double check if you can actually talk. Just give me a moment. Tina. All right, should work now.
Hi, Tina.
Hi,
Welcome.
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, so I'm the new tech writer on the Nimbus team, and I've joined Status for in my first month. And last month I've wrote. I mainly focus on NIM P2P, and I wrote 3 tutorial articles for beginners to get started using a direct check example. And also, my work has involved some sample code refactoring because previously the code was a bit messy. For example, the function name is not that intuitive. And also, I simplify a lot of things in the sample code. And I've also fixed the README and documentation as shown in the bottom right. So if now you go to the NIM P2P README, you will see a list of available functions and also what functions are currently missing compared to other implementations of libp2p in other languages such as Go and JavaScript. Yeah, and also last month I helped out reviewing the traditional Chinese translation on the new Status app. Yeah, that's all for now.
Okay, thank you, Tina.
In the future, I hope to if anyone has any topic that wants me to write about or any suggestions on my current articles, feel free to let me know. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Tina. So next up, we're going to be having the updates from Carl, and Rachel will be the one to give us those updates. So, hi, Rachel.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah, so first of all, thank you, Jared, for the shout out today. It goes without saying that I'm really, really going to miss working with you guys, but I will be cheering for you and you'll see me around, no doubt. So updates for core today real quick. We released version 1.2 with Waku mail servers on April 8th, which I believe was shortly after the last town hall. I have to update the install data for iOS. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to grab that. I didn't ping Andre early enough on Friday, but we did see this is an uptake of more than 1,000 new users on Android, I believe. So close to 10K active users or active installs. Sorry, I shouldn't say users. Active installs on Android as of today. This is a very important release for us, I think, as people know, and we're happy that we can move forward with our plans for user growth now. Uninhibited. And on that note, the next release, 1.3, is currently in QA, namely because that release will include the return of group chat, private group chat. So that's been frequently requested since V1 launched, and we're excited to bring that back with lots of fixes and polishing to make sure that it works properly. But it does require a lot of QA because it's been some time since that feature and the fixes to that feature have been reviewed. So it will also include dark mode, which is another popular request these days of every application and a valid one. It's really slick and really nice. I've been using it. And then lastly, and less visibly to our users, but important in the long run from a code perspective, we have a new WebView implementation that will be integrated for the browser in 1.3. And with this new implementation, we are able to drop 2 outdated libraries. We're staying more in sync with the React Native WebView community, and we'll be benefiting from upstream fixes to that implementation. So, and we also spent a good portion of last week fixing bugs as we had determined to do in the previous town hall. So a bunch of bug fixes to be included as well, and I'll detail some of those in the release notes for 1.3. After that, the scope for the following release, 1.4, is quite tentative, but given where things stand, I do anticipate being able to release push notifications for direct messages. And this is, again, for Android only because we have great limitations on iOS that prohibit us from releasing push notifications in a decentralized manner. So for now, we are only servicing Android with push notifications. I'd also really like to prioritize testing of the Keycard integration within the status client once 1.3 is released. So I can't say for certain whether it will be included in 1.4. It really depends on what comes up in QA of Keycard. But that is going to be next on the docket, I hope, for the QA team so that we can officially launch Keycard, which will be very exciting. Beyond that, our roadmap, we've got loads of great feature requests in the community, which I really appreciate, and have been integrating onto the Trello roadmap so that they're visible to all. But Wednesday of this week, we'll be having a product planning session, which again will take a bottoms-up approach where everybody is invited to share their thoughts, their feedback, their concerns, and their requests with us. And if you'd like to get more vocal about that, you can do so on the relevant discuss post, which is linked on this slide. We would love to hear from you. Definitely taking opinions from the core team. And we will be using the Wednesday synchronous call to just sort of filter through and prioritize what's come up. So that should be a good preview for the product planning that's to come as we move to a more and more community-led product planning process. Yeah, lastly, like image sending in chat, that feature has a tiny bit of work left but can be finished soon, so should also be included in an upcoming release. And unfortunately, the status starter pack, which we're really excited about, I don't have any word on whether we have the administrative clearance that we require from the App Store to move forward on that feature, so that's going to require some follow-up on our part because that's very, very important to our growth strategy. So we'll be looking into that. And I believe that is it from me today. Oh, yes. No, that's it. That's all that's worth saying. So thanks, guys.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Richard. So next up, we're going to be having security and infrastructure updates. So we're going to be having Corey joining us for that. Hi, Corey.
What's up, Henry? Thanks. Security stuff, not too much to discuss today. We'll have a lot more coming up soon, though. A few more tutorials on what I'm going to talk about. Status app. We had the audit done on the starter pack service. That's been finished. We're working on addressing some of the issues. Nothing too major to concern about. We're pretty happy with how it went out. Just doing some final touches and addressing all the issues that were brought up. I'll be releasing that into a public repository so people can read not only the report that was done and all of the assets that were created during the audit, but also kind of how we mitigated the issues and so on and so forth, if you're interested. Outside of that, actually, as a part of the starter pack service, some threat modeling was done, and I really liked the way it was done for this particular project. So I'm building out a process that reflects that and a bit more as trying to build a standard process for threat modeling across status. We tried this previously, but it didn't quite catch, probably due to me not following through. But we'll be building examples and kind of a walkthrough on what needs to be done at status security. The skeleton of that is already there if you want to go take a look at it through the link. Once that's completed, I'll be walking through and trying to get people to do threat modeling on all the old, current, and future products or protocols of status. That way we have a good idea of where our value lies and how people access it and so on and so forth. If you don't know what threat modeling is or my particular view on how to do it, the process is as simple as make a diagram. I love diagrams. Just make a diagram on what you think it looks like. I have examples on how you can do that. And then from there, you do a threat modeling session like Stride or Dread or something like that, which I'll have examples of based on that diagram. And they iterate on each other until everyone has agreement. And last but not least, we'll be moving from Zoom for status town halls or any other kind of peripheral communications. We don't use Zoom much, but when we do, we'll be moving away from it for security concerns. I'm reviewing options, so expect to be on something else next time. You can go next slide for infrastructure. So a lot of stuff here. Jacob made it all. He's not here to talk about it, so I'm just going to read it while you read it as well. Sites, we got deploy starter pack on a test host. I'm making some Docker images for starter pack. So as you can see, there's a lot of work around making sure starter pack works, easy to use, and so on and so forth. For the app, fixed make filter and nix reduce builds. Let's see, fix missing asset images in status app to make sure those show up when they're supposed to. Got some more metrics. We can actually see better whisper envelope archive metrics across the network, which is really great to see by us. Helps us figure out what's going on and maybe track users a little bit better in terms of how much usage in the network is actually happening. Let's see. Switch to MongoDB, thank God. Let's see, fixed deployment process for simple dApp. That's going to be better for testing as we implement more and more projects. Universal links are getting a lot more work done thanks to Jakob and people working on that. It's going to make it easier for you to click on things and get to status or people quicker, or share your profile with people. dApp discovery is getting quite a bit of work. Really enjoying seeing that get better and better. And we've archived the Embark server as they've moved over to the core contributor Discord, so that people can still maintain all the history from there. And that's being exposed through OAuth. So you have to log in, make sure you have access to it. That's it for us.
Right. Thank you, Corey. So the next update will be for ambassadors, and Gino will be joining us for that. So, hey, Gino.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, cool. Let's take a look at the Q1 summary. There were 32 ambassadors until March, and we pruned 11 ambassadors who were inactive for more than 60 days. Most of the pruned ambassadors were from China and Nigeria. Fortunately, we've got very talented and passionate ambassadors recently. The German ambassador Alexander, American ambassador Titus and Daniel, and Turkish ambassador Erol have been actively participating in the ambassador program. They have translated status and our website into their languages or produced some awesome content such as blog posts introducing status. Also, we've recently received applications from Hong Kong, Ukraine, and Poland, so the ambassador program is getting more diverse than ever. Next slide, please. In Q1, we had 7 more completed tasks than Q4 2019. I think this is because we launched V1 in February, so there were lots of V1 related tasks such as V1 dogfooding and blog posts introducing V1. I planned to support a couple of meetups in March and April, but everything was canceled due to the coronavirus. And the good thing is we've got awesome technical content from ambassadors such as building Nimbus on Android from Andrew, which was one of the most popular technical blog posts in Q1. So thank you, Andrew, again. Next slide, please. The translation campaign was most active among the ambassadors, and I'm going to present more specifics in the next slides. Also, we had 7 blog posts from the ambassadors and 6 media content. Next slide, please. Aside from the translation from the ambassadors, there were some open source translators as well. For example, status was 100% translated into traditional Chinese by an open source translator recently. His translation was reviewed by Tina, as she said before, and the quality of the translation was really great. We support 9 languages other than English for status, and 5 languages are in progress or under review. For your information, Russian was translated by the localized team recently as per our request, but all the other languages have been translated by the ambassadors or open source translators. On top of the mobile app translation, the status.im website also supports 9 languages as well, thanks to the translators. Next slide, please. Lastly, let's see the high-level overview of the Q2 focuses together. As you all know, it is impossible to organize offline meetups due to the worldwide epidemic, so we need to shift our focus from offline events to online events, such as webinars or virtual conferences. So Johnny is actively working on this webinar initiative, and we would host the first webinar on the principles. The first webinar will be a great reference to prepare webinars with ambassadors in the future. So we are going to do it soon. Also, there is no doubt that Status is a developer-friendly organization, and we have a lot of great resources for developers who are sensitive to tech trends. So a tutorial material, including all the technical references of Status, will be given to new ambassadors from now on. As to the community engagement, we are going to start the ambassador community campaign, including Status app review, blog posts, and videos when V 1.3 is ready. That's it. Thanks.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Gino. So the next updates we'll be getting will be on Keycard. So
yeah, hi everyone. So this will be pretty quick. 2 main points. I wanted to first answer the question about when will Keycard be available to Status users. I can give a super precise answer, but I wanted to highlight the dependencies we have to release Keycard. So we have 3 things. First, the production of cards. Well, we are suffering from the coronavirus here, obviously. It was planned to be manufactured mid this week, so in 2 days from now. We've had some issues with the personalization scripts on the factory line. Working on that, we're a bit slowed down because the samples are traveling from countries to countries. Yeah, DHL is pretty slow. So we're gonna have some delay, and the cards, we'll get them by end of April. So that's one thing, production. Then second thing is the integration with Status, as outlined by Rachel. We're going to go through some Keycard QA, and the plan is to have Keycard integrated in Android on V1.4. The exact date is not clear for now. But yeah, once we have that, the main priority after will be iOS integration. And the third dependencies is something pretty basic, but it's the shipping of cards from the factory. Because just last week, DHL just did stop the service we're using to ship the cards, since we're using a pretty convenient service which ships worldwide for a fixed cost, and they stopped that. So we can't ship the key cards anymore. So we have these 3 dependencies, some uncertainties on when integration and shipping will be ready again. Overall, all this means that the key cards won't be available in April, and we'll come back on more detail whether for a more precise date. But that's the current, status of our planning. Two quick updates about what we're working on from a product ecosystem standpoint. We had last week some pretty interesting discussion, both internally with the marketing team, especially Johnny, Andy, and Ruji, about how to pitch in Keycard in our pitches to partners and dApps especially. That's pretty positive. And the other thing is that we're working on the possibility and the proposal to use Keycard and maybe Status for attendees at next DEF CON. So stay tuned, but this is pretty exciting and ongoing discussions. And that's what I wanted to update. Yeah.
all right, thank you very much. So the next update will be a community update for me actually. So okay. So we're going to be starting something called the Status bi-weekly update. I'm going to be working on this with Ken, who is also an ambassador for Status. So the bi-weekly update mainly contains information about everything that's going on around the Status network for 2 weeks. So these will include updates about the mobile app, events, blogs, shoutouts, Nimbus, Keycard, Teller, town halls, like just covering everything in and around Status network. So we're also going to be recording an audio version of this update. That's a podcast episode, and it will be uploaded on the Everything Status podcast. So if you want to check that, you can just go to media.statusnetwork.com to listen to the update. So we're going to be having the test version of the update written and uploaded on Discourse. So the update will be released on Friday. So we released the first one last week on Friday, so you can just check out Discord thread. You can just type in status by weekly update there, and then you find information about it. So next slide, please. All right. So status bi-weekly update as Town Hall 2.0. So this is just an idea that I came up with along with Ken. So we're just trying to bring up something that we could use as an alternate to Town Hall. So the idea is to create an alternate version to the current version of Town Halls. It works as a complement. So it will be an audio version of Town Halls, and we'll be using the Everything Status podcast to implement these, and we'll be having 2 different catch-up sessions. So the first one is the bi-weekly catch-up with the team, while the second one is the bi-weekly catch-up with ambassadors. So sorry, next slide, please. Yeah. So the bi-weekly catch-up with the team will be a podcast episode where a member of the status team will come on and join us, and then we'll discuss about the things the team has been working on for the past 2 weeks. And we're going to create a Discord thread every 2 weeks where people can, add questions. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask any of the team members to discuss and explain over the podcast, then you can submit it on that Discord thread. So while the bi-weekly catch up with ambassadors is a podcast episode with ambassador, we're going to be talking about what the ambassador has been working and how he has been contributing to that status network. So if you have any questions, if you're an ambassador or you would like to come on the podcast episodes and discuss, you can just ping me. My ENS name is Erin Stats, so you can just message me and or join the Everything Status channel on Discord or Status. So the next update I have is the Niger crypto community. So can you please move to the next slide? Yeah. Oh, great. Thank you. So this is just for our Nigerian friends. I actually wrote this in Pidgin, so just for them to read it. So we're starting a Nigerian community on the Status app. If you want to join, you can type in iStatus Niger and join there. We're going to be discussing, and we've started, telling people about it. I'm just going to start inviting them to the community today. So if you want to catch up with the Nigerian friends, you can just join and come there and discuss with us. So that's all for the community update. So we're going to be going to the Q&A session now.
Cool. And we have 2 questions in, both from Sorrowful Single Carpenter Ant. So the first question was about Keycard and when will Keycards be open to everyone? So I believe we answered that in a bit of detail just earlier in the presentation. Essentially, there are quite a few dependencies right now, being production, integration, and shipping. So we don't have a specific date on that yet, but we will let you know as and when that becomes clearer. And then the second question, again, from the same person, is will there be status staking? So we're currently still putting together plans around that. And again, don't really have a specific answer for you, but we will come back to you as soon as any plans materialize on that. And that's it for questions. And yeah, so thank you everyone for joining, and a particularly massive thank you to Henry for hosting this town hall. Really appreciate that, and Henry did an excellent job, so thank you. The next town hall will be on the 27th of April in exactly a fortnight. Thanks everyone. I'm going to switch off the live feed.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.